In the heart of the African savanna, a story unfolded that could warm even the coldest winter night in Montana. The tiny village of Nambassa, no bigger than a small American town where everyone knows your name, was a place of simple joys, farming, hunting, and community spirit. Much like a 4th of July barbecue where neighbors share stories under the stars. One dusty afternoon, as the sun baked the earth to a crisp, a shadow limped to the village's edge. It wasn't a lost traveler or a stray dog. It was a lion, so frail it could have been mistaken for a ghost. Zuberi, as they'd later call him, was a walking skeleton, his mane patchy, one leg dragging across the dirt, and a festering wound under his ribs oozing with pain. He'd trekked hundreds of miles, abandoned by his pride, his eyes not fierce but pleading, like a weary soul asking for a second chance. In any other place, folks might have grabbed rifles or run for the hills, but Nambassa was different. Elder Mosi, the village chief, with the wisdom of a seasoned pastor, saw something sacred in that desperate gaze. If a creature walks this far to beg for help, he said, we can't turn our backs. It was the kind of compassion you'd see in a small-town church opening its doors to strangers after a tornado. Under the shade of a massive baobab tree, think of it as the village's version of an old oak in a town square, the people rallied like a community cleanup crew. Kids gathered leaves, women mashed grains into a makeshift meal, and elders brewed herbal remedies as if tending to a sick neighbor. They gave Zuberi water, packed his wounds with crushed herbs, and named him Strength from Pain, believing he deserved a shot at life. This wasn't just about saving a lion, it was about humanity's capacity to care, no matter the risk. Like Americans pitching in to rebuild after a hurricane, the villagers poured their hearts into Zuberi, proving that kindness can bridge even the wildest divides, turning a dying beast into a symbol of hope that would soon change their lives forever. In the quiet village of Nambassa, nestled in the vast African savanna like a small-town diner off a Midwest highway, a lion named Zuberi became more than a survivor. He became a testament to gratitude and loyalty that could rival the most heartfelt American success story. After the villagers saved him from the brink of death, nursing his frail body, barely 200 pounds of skin and bones, with a patchy mane and a leg dragging across miles of cracked earth, Zuberi didn't just recover, he chose to repay their kindness in ways that would make any community proud. Picture a soldier returning home to honor those who stood by him, and you'll understand Zuberi's heart. From the moment he stood on wobbly legs under the village's ancient baobab tree, his eyes, once dull with pain, sparkled with purpose, like a sparkler on the 4th of July. He didn't roam far, preferring to lounge at the village entrance each morning, greeting the sunrise as if saying, I'm here for you. Kids played tug-of-war with his mane, giggling like they were at a county fair, while men patted his head for luck before heading to the fields, a ritual as comforting as a pre-game prayer. Women set food by his muzzle with the care of a grandmother serving Sunday dinner. But Zuberi's gratitude wasn't just in his calm presence. He was a protector. One day when a young goat herder, the same boy who first spotted him collapsing in the dirt, was bitten by a venomous snake, panic swept Nambassa like a wildfire. Before anyone could act, Zuberi sprang forward, his paws slamming the snake with the force of a linebacker, his roar shaking the ground like a thunderstorm rolling across the plains. The boy was saved, and from that moment, Zuberi wasn't just the lion, he was their guardian, a title earned through loyalty as fierce as a firefighter's oath. Another time, when a pack of wild dogs, each one snarling like a junkyard mutt, threatened the village's goats, Zuberi chased them off alone, sprinting nearly a mile into the grasslands until they vanished. No one doubted him anymore. For 3 years, he stood by Nambassa, never forgetting the hands that fed him or the hearts that trusted him. Like an American hero who never forgets their roots, think of a veteran volunteering at a local shelter. Zuberi's actions spoke louder than any roar. His loyalty wove him into the village's soul, proving that gratitude isn't just a feeling, but a promise kept, a bond that would soon lead him to make the ultimate sacrifice for the people he called home. In the sun-scorched village of Nambassa, where life moved as steadily as a small-town parade in rural America, Zuberi the lion became a legend, through a heroic sacrifice that could inspire tears at a Memorial Day service. For 3 years, this once-dying creature, rescued from a fate of starvation after dragging himself hundreds of miles to the village, had woven himself into the fabric of Mombasa like a beloved coach in a high school football town. He'd guarded the villagers with a loyalty fiercer than a soldier's oath, chasing off wild dogs and saving a boy from a venomous snake. But when a drought hit, turning the savannah into a dust bowl worse than Oklahoma in the 1930s, Zuberi's greatest test arrived. The earth cracked open, streams vanished, and livestock collapsed under a sun that blazed like a furnace. Families went thirsty, kids cried, and hope dwindled like a fading campfire. Then, as if the drought wasn't enough, trouble loomed larger. Footprints as wide as hubcaps appeared, signaling a herd of elephants, each one weighing as much as a pickup truck, charging toward the village in search of water. One night under a moonless sky, chaos erupted. The elephants stampeded, smashing wooden walls, trampling grain stores and endangering lives, turning Mombasa into a battlefield reminiscent of a tornado's aftermath. Screams filled the air. A man was hurled into firewood, a woman trapped under a collapsed roof. Elder Mosey, trembling like a preacher facing a storm, whispered, "We'll lose everything." But then a roar split the night like a siren at a fire station. Zuberi, old and scarred, leaped from the village center, his eyes blazing with the same fire that had sparked when he first stood after being saved. He charged the lead elephant, lunging at its leg with the grit of a linebacker, forcing it to stumble. A tusk gashed his shoulder, blood spilled. But Zuberi's roar, louder than a freight train, drowned out the elephant's trumpets. The villagers chanted his name like fans at a championship game. "Zuberi! Zuberi!" until the herd retreated, realizing this village was no easy target. But heroism came at a cost. Zuberi collapsed in the dust, his breath ragged, blood pooling from his wounds. As the villagers sobbed, his peaceful gaze met theirs, a silent thank you for their kindness years ago. Like a war hero laying down his life for his squad, Zuberi gave everything to save Mombasa, proving that true sacrifice isn't about strength, it's about love. His death didn't end his story. It carved his name into the village's heart, a legacy as enduring as a star on a hometown walk of fame. In the remote village of Mombasa, tucked away in the African savanna like a hidden gem in the Appalachian foothills, a remarkable bond between humans and nature unfolded, as vivid and heartwarming as a summer evening in a small American town where fireflies dance. It began when Zuberi, a lion so frail he looked like he'd collapse after dragging himself hundreds of miles, stumbled into the village, not to hunt, but to plead for help. Starving, with a patchy mane and a wounded leg trailing in the dirt, his eyes held no threat, only a quiet desperation that could soften the hardest heart. In a place like Mombasa, where folks lived off the land, much like farmers in Iowa tending their fields, predators were a distant worry. Yet instead of fear, the villagers, led by Elder Mosi, wise as a park ranger guarding Yellowstone, chose compassion, seeing in Zuberi a creature worth saving. Under a towering baobab tree, their version of a town square's oak, they nursed him with water, herbs, and mashed grains, as if tending a neighbor's injured horse. This act of kindness sparked a connection deeper than any wildlife documentary. Zuberi didn't just recover, he became family, lounging at the village entrance each morning like a loyal dog waiting for the mailman, his presence as comforting as a breeze through a screen porch. Kids braided his mane with giggles, women left food by his side with the care of a church potluck, and men touched his head for luck, a ritual as natural as tipping a hat to a friend. Zuberi repaid their trust, protecting the village with a fierceness that echoed the harmony of a national park thriving with life. He saved a boy from a venomous snake, his paw striking faster than a hawk, and chased wild dogs nearly a mile to guard the goats, proving he wasn't just a guest but a guardian. For 3 years, he wove himself into Nambasa's rhythm, as integral as a river to a valley. Even when drought scorched the land, drying streams and withering crops like a wildfire's aftermath, Zuberi's loyalty held firm, culminating in his ultimate sacrifice against a stampeding elephant herd, each beast as heavy as a tractor, saving the village at the cost of his life. This bond wasn't about taming nature, it was about mutual respect, like Americans cherishing their forests or volunteering at animal shelters. Zuberi's story, etched into Nambasa's soul, reminds us that when humans and nature stand together, the result is a harmony as enduring as a sunset over the Grand Canyon, a testament to what's possible when we see the wild not as foe, but as kin. In the dusty village of Nambasa, cradled by the African savanna like a quiet town along a Nebraska backroad, the story of Zubri the lion left a legacy of hope as enduring as a lighthouse guiding ships through a storm. Zuberi, once a skeletal creature who'd limped hundreds of miles to collapse at the village's edge, his mane tattered, a leg dragging, and a wound festering under his ribs, had been saved by the villagers' kindness, their care as warm as a community rallying after a flood. For 3 years, he repaid them as their guardian, chasing off wild dogs across fields stretching nearly a mile and saving a boy from a snake with a paw swipe faster than a shortstop's throw. But when a drought turned the land to ash and a herd of elephants, each as massive as a school bus, stampeded, Suberi's final act sealed his legend. He charged the herd, his roar echoing like a hometown hero's last stand, driving them back at the cost of his life. As he lay dying, blood pooling in the dirt, his peaceful gaze met the villagers' tears, a silent promise kept. Yet Zuberi's story didn't end there. It blossomed into a legacy that could inspire a 4th of July speech. The villagers, grieving as if they'd lost a brother, held a funeral under torchlight, a tribute as solemn as a veteran's memorial. They buried a stone bowl filled with the first water from a revived well at the rock where Zuberi once basked, whispering, "This is what he protected. Life." Then, as if the heavens heard, rain poured down after 4 dry years. A deluge that felt like a Hollywood miracle. Streams swelled, soaking fields and forming a river the villagers named Zubri River, ensuring every sip carried his memory, much like a town naming its main street after a fallen hero. Young men etched lion mane tattoos on their arms, a badge of honor like a purple heart, while a stone statue rose by the river, its eyes catching the sunset as if Zuberi still stood guard. Stories of his courage were told to children, passed down like campfire tales at a family reunion, teaching that hope rises from sacrifice. Zuberi's legacy wasn't just about one lion, it was about the spark of kindness that lit Nambasa's darkest days, reminding us of America's own stories, like communities rebuilding after hurricanes or volunteers planting trees to heal the land. His name became a beacon, proof that even in loss, hope endures, as timeless as a flag raised at dawn, whispering that one act of love can ripple through generations, forever changing the heart of a people. Zuberi's journey from a dying lion to Nambasa's hero offers timeless lessons that can light up our lives like a sunrise over the Rockies. First, kindness is a seed that grows beyond measure. When the villagers saved Zuberi, despite the risks, they didn't just heal a lion. They forged a bond that saved their community. In our busy world, small acts, like helping a neighbor with groceries or volunteering at a local shelter, can ripple outward, building trust and hope. Imagine if we all paused to lend a hand. Our towns could feel as tight-knit as Nambasa. Second, gratitude fuels loyalty. Zuberi never forgot the villagers' compassion, repaying it by protecting them until his final breath. We can live this by honoring those who've supported us, calling a mentor to say thanks, or standing by a friend in tough times. It's like paying forward a favor at a coffee shop drive-thru, keeping the cycle of goodwill alive. Third, sacrifice for others leaves a lasting mark. Zuberi's stand against the elephants cost him everything, yet it brought rain and renewal. We don't need to face elephants, but we can give up comfort, maybe time or resources for a cause, like coaching kids' sports or donating to a food bank, knowing it plants hope for tomorrow. Finally, Zuberi's legacy teaches us that stories of courage endure. By sharing positivity, whether posting about a local hero or teaching kids to care for nature, we keep hope alive. Let's live with open hearts, grateful spirits, and bold actions, knowing that, like Zuberi, our choices can echo through time, making our world a little brighter, one kind deed at a time.